It's me, Mr. Riot, aka the Pain Train,
with the profile for Louboutin. This is my limit break focus deck. I'm waiting for the hype prices to go down on the strides and the after image support for Shiranui. Until then, this is what I got for y'all, and I find that this deck still runs consistently and is a lot faster than the limit break. The stride focused and legion focused decks. Granted, those cards that recently came out for the other legion is actually a pretty good card. But I again find that limit break is faster, and Kuroko is the faster starter, mainly because she's an all-game threat. Should anything be in the bind zone, this card you really want behind your Vanguard to boost any attack hits. Anything in the bind zone, up to 2 cards will be destroyed for 1 counterblast. My backup starter is this after image card here. It's to help mitigate the counterblast I will be using. And it's to get rid of a card in the bind zone. My opponent has to pick their poison though, so it's like if there's a card in the bind zone, I play this card. My opponent picks a card from the bind zone, kills it off, and I counter charge 1. So I definitely find that both of these cards are great. I still find, again, Kuroko to be the better starter. Until hype prices scroll down, I do have proxies in, and those are ugly. Going over the strides now. These are the Shura Stealth Dragon specific cards. Then I'll be going to the neutral cards. So this card is specifically for when I have an annoying rear guard that I can't get rid of by attacking it. So when this card attacks counterblast to my opponent picks the card from the hand, binds it face down. I pick a rear guard, bind it face up. Should I have a Shura Stealth Dragon Vanguard as a heart, those cards die. If not, then should you have Shiranui or anything else, then they go back to the hand. I can see this card being useful for the after image effects because it doesn't meet the requirements of a Shura Stealth Dragon. Then we have this guy here. Basically, again, another situational card. Generation Break 2, Actability, Counterblast 1. I pick a card from my opponent's hand. Pick a card from my opponent's hand, bind it face down. If the number of if their hand is 3 or less cards, and I bind their field, that gets rid of all the interceptors and everything right there. Again, another situational card. I'm running 3 of the on hit discarded card, mainly because I can't pronounce the name, but one of my other cards that I proxied in requires a card to be unflipped. It's not a persona flip. And this is technically a Gato Lord, or I can't really remember the card, but its effect is Counterblast, I think 1 persona flip, and I bind the card from my opponent's hand, or my opponent binds the card from their hand, puts it face down. If their hand is 3 or less, then it gets a crit or something like that. Something to those specifications of getting a crit and 3 or less cards in hand. So between these two is really situational on what you want to do, and because it is not a heart specific card, you're going to run Shiranui with this card. And then one of the very expensive hand destroyer card. Basically with this card, I think it's either when it attacks or its actability, Counterblast 2, flip a card up, and then your opponent chooses everything from their hand but 4 cards and bind it face down. So should they have an OTT sized hand or a Great Nature sized hand, that means freaking nothing. It means nothing because it all goes to the bind zone anyway. And so with different cards that I would recommend running in the place of certain other things, I might kick this up to 2, but because of the Counterblast 2, probably still keep it at 1. Now to get things going, trigger lineup. So my trigger lineup is fairly simple, all crits and 4 heal. Running 3 of the Shiranui crit, just to give my Shiranui attack more bonus of 5, and I get to draw a card. So, and I run this because I don't want more cards than my opponent. So, 1, running 4 Dread Masters. The reason you want less cards than your opponent. Should it boost the attack hits anything, less cards in hand than your opponent. The attack hits, counter blast 1, your opponent has to discard a card. Must have at 4. Running 4 of this PG simply because it gets rid of cards in the binding zone when generation is available. And the attack can swing at anything and boost. That's all it has to do is boost, and the attack swings at whatever. So generally you'll get maybe a 15k column, so you can start swinging at rear guards, and they'll lose a rear guard because they have to block with the 10k shield, and again they'll lose whatever's in the bind zone anyway. Then should you want to use this after image ability, after image is when something from the bind zone goes back into your opponent's hand, and this goes back into your hand should you have 6 or less cards. So it's not like you'll be down the road without a PG. The only condition that has to be met is that this card has to be in the drop zone first. So should you be facing Narukami that binds things from and puts them into the bind zone, then that's the only bad thing about, this position. 3 Stride Fighter, just because I don't want to continuously pitch grade 3s that I might have a potential of riding or what have you. And then searching out Shiranui is also a thing. Now, one card I do have here in question because I want to rush my opponent with my limit break skills is the limit break enabler. Now, this card is in question simply because of Fuki. Fuki picks cards from my opponent's hand, and because it has the requirement of 3 or more cards, I can still, again, have my opponent at 3 cards to guard with certain other cards. So this is one of the cards that may be subject to change, simply because limit break is a thing, and it's devastating to have your field bound or cards taken from your hand and killed off, because should you be on the grade 2 game and you just so happen to have 3 or more cards in hand, and Fuki will start picking those cards out of hand versus the limit break skills. So choose. Now we have 2 Kokujo. Kokujo goes fantastic with Kujikiricongo. He goes up +2 per thing that goes into the bind zone during your turn. So he can be a devastating 19 should your opponent have a full field or more, because things going from hand into the bind zone. 4 Tamahagane, simply because it's too good of a card not to have, because it binds things on your opponent's field. It gives your opponent something to really consider when they play things, how to play things, and how to get around certain things. So when you ride this card, or this card is placed or called or what have you from the deck or from your hand or whatever, you bind something on your opponent's field. And of course it goes back to the hand at the end of turn. Then we have a Gitamaru, which is Kuroko, just a 9k body. No cost, all it has to do is hit the Vanguard, and you only get to destroy 1 card versus 2 with Kuroko. And it's a Vanguard rear guard skill, so again, very resourceful card, this card here. Again, I'm focused on killing off my opponent's hand, so that way there's nothing they can do later on to me. They have to be very resourceful, especially if they don't run draw triggers. Should I come across, anybody that, doesn't play, draw triggers, then they're already standing on one leg, because I don't run draw triggers either. And I have many ways to get around of not having more hand than you. So, my 3s. So Yozakura is my situational card. Should I have Dread Masters on the field is my specification, because Dread Master requires less cards in hand than my opponent. So should I have Dread Masters in hand, then I'll have this on Vanguard and use its skill of Counterblast 1, discard 2, and bind 2 things from my opponent's hand and bind them face down. So again, a very situational card. Only a 1-of. I might kick it up to 2, simply because it's too good of it. I find it's too good of a card. Should my opponent be grade locked or we playing the grade 2 game and they have 4 more cards in hand, then I Counterblast 1, discard 2, and pick off 2. One of those 2 could have been the grade 3. And so, very difficult card not to have, but it's not necessary because you can go with Kujikiricongo. Kujikiricongo binds the field when it attacks. It gets a 10k bonus should 3 or more things be put into the bind zone during this turn, be it by this card effect or a different card effect or a combination of the 2. And then we have 2 of the break ride. 2 of the break ride simply because the combination with the next card is too good, or a combination with any of the grade 3s is just too good. Gets a 10,000 bonus, but the main thing, your opponent has to discard a card and bind a card from their hand. So should you be at grade 3 and be pushed to 4 damage, or have the limit break enabler and your opponent just hasn't been lucky enough to get off a 2, or they only have a certain amount of cards in hand, like 3 cards, then they get rid of 2 cards. And again, it combinates well with Shiranui. Shiranui's GB2 skill. Less cards in hand than your opponent, it gets 5,000 in a crit, but the on-stride ability is where this card shines. Stride, Counterblast 1, your opponent has to discard a card regardless of how many is in hand, and then you bind a card on their field face up. So again, I will definitely be building a Shiranui after image deck when hype prices go down. So yeah, not only, but again, break ride plus 10, and then it gets the credibility, because more than likely I will have waited, and it's a patient wait to go from having GB2 skill and no other means of striding. Sometimes I don't want to stride, but depending on what their hand looks like, I will go ahead and stride if I have the resources. And I will hard stride if I have to, because again, less cards in my opponent is a thing. So, hope y'all like this deck profile. I will definitely be updating the cards when I do get the cards available. Shiranui, thank you for coming around. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Anything y'all want to talk about, leave it in the comment section. Questions, comment section. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Show your boys some support. I will definitely be having more deck profiles coming in the near future. Holla!